Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Really means a lot to me. This is number three of a 10-part series. If you're keeping track at home, if not, it's okay. Sites are the new power players, and there's definitely a trend. I do believe we're in the golden era of sites being the power players in this space, and there's a lot of theories. I'm gonna eventually write a full article on my LinkedIn newsletter, Investigators Brochure, so make sure you check it out on my LinkedIn profile. Go follow me on LinkedIn if you're not, and then hit subscribe on my newsletter. It's called Investigators Brochure. I'm very proud of that name. I channeled my inner Brad Hightower and tried to find something like Note to File, and it's not quite as good as Note to File. That's a great name, but I think I did pretty good on that one. So this third video of this 10-part series is about diversity. And if you remember, number one was about why sites are the new power players, so go check that out if you haven't. Number two was about sponsors, what sponsors really want, and they're afraid to tell you or don't want to tell you. Number three is about diversity. And this is one of the reasons why sites are important still. It's because getting access to diversity. So if your site isn't in a diverse community, or if you're not adapting fast, you might be off the map soon. And that's, I think, administration agnostic. The DEI things that are making headlines about, the FDA and the government removing from websites, I don't think applies to the FDA's guidance that they released in 2024 of June on diversity in clinical trials. I think that is a public health issue, and I think the FDA agrees with me on that. I think to throw this into DEI is not comparing apples to apples. So I don't think it's going away. Private equity and smart money doesn't think it's going away. CROs don't think it's going away, and sponsors don't think it's going away, and the FDA hasn't made any innuendos that it's going away either. So they dropped this guidance in June. It changes how we and sponsors and CROs think about location, infrastructure, who gets funded. I'm living proof of this. I wish I could say I had the foresight to move to Yuma right at the same time that this tailwind was helping my site get more studies. That's not the case. We moved here because my wife's family's from here. We wanted to have kids. We had a son this year. Shout out to Max. But it just so happened we opened the site right around the same time that location matters. So what do they say in real estate all the time? Location, location, location. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to sites. Location matters. Infrastructure matters. Now, there are pros and cons of being in an underserved community. The pros are you get a lot of study opportunities. The cons are you got to deal with the infrastructure in your town, which is not the greatest compared to where I came from. There's not that many selection of servers or of vendors, for example. So third-party vendors, imaging vendors, typically imaging vendors. There are surrounding communities where we can get to, but it's not as easy as being in Anaheim, let's say. But I think the pros outweigh the cons. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of study opportunities since we got here, and continues to do, knock on wood. We have scaling challenges ahead of us. We have a small team that I'm eventually going to try to scale this site, but I think this is important, and I think this is one of the reasons why sites are in demand. And I think this is one of the reasons why site networks are starting to dominate the space and why site networks are looking at underserved communities as well. So again, this long-awaited draft guidance came last year, June of 2024. Its goal was to ensure phase three and pivotal trials reflect the population that will actually use the drug. Sponsors now, after that, must disclose enrollment goals by race, age, and gender and explain how they'll meet those goals. Back it up with recruitment plans. So these are the diversity recruitment action plans, community strategies, and even study design changes. This is not a soft suggestion, it's an enrollment-based compliance pressure tied to regulatory approval. So, new FDA commissioner is in, Malarkey, I believe, uh, his name. Uh, he just did an interview with Megyn Kelly. I have an opinions about that as well, and stay tuned for a future episode on my thoughts on this. Like this administration, if nothing else, is giving me plenty of content. I've been pumping out content lately. I used to just do Monday through Friday. Now I'm doing Saturday and Sunday too because the news keeps coming. But McCary, sorry, not Malarkey. McCary is the FDA commissioner. Marty McCary, the newly appointed FDA commissioner. He went on a 1 hour podcast today, actually, April 18th, with Megyn Kelly. By the time you're watching this, it's a few days later. Hopefully, you had a chance to digest that interview. If not, fear not. I will give you my analysis and my write-up. They are all about accelerating drug approvals, and they are all about pragmatic outcomes for patients. I cannot imagine that diversity is not one of those, considering the huge Latino shift in demographics that we've seen over the past few decades. Uh, Not to mention the underserved African American communities, Black American communities is probably a better word for it. This is going to continue, and if you follow where the money goes, forget about politics for a second. If you follow where the money is going into these locations, underserved communities or very diverse communities. Sites located in areas with high concentration of Blacks, Hispanics, Asians, or other underrepresented populations will become strategic assets. I'm looking at you, Bay Area. There are surprisingly, the San Francisco Bay Area is surprisingly missing private community clinics and that are not part of large health systems and research clinics. You'll find the AMCs, you'll find a Stanford, Berkeley, you'll find biotech hubs there, but you don't find the small community-based research clinics. If you're trying to target especially Asian Americans, the Bay Area, I think, is golden opportunity. It's hard to find PIs over there from what I'm hearing from my colleagues because they're all part of large health systems. It's very rare to have an independent clinician out there. Hopefully, we see a reversal from that. Private equity could have something to do there in that area. They do usually own private practices as well, so you can add a research arm uh, someplace in the Bay Area and probably have a really good crack at getting a lot of Asian Americans participating in studies. Southern California as well. Blacks and Hispanics, again, you're getting a lot of these underserved communities popping up with a research clinic. This will likely put a significant premium on sites located in areas with diverse populations. Again, I'm seeing that myself. I'm a direct recipient of it. It's not like it's an unlimited amount of studies or any study we want. I still have to fight for them. I still have to compete with them. But I think I'm getting more at bats than some of my colleagues in maybe more competitive markets. And I think this is important. I think this is actually a trend. So what else does it mean? It's about recruitment now. Even if you are in a competitive market, I think if you can demonstrate recruitment, specifically minority recruitment, and build your brand around that, you will do well. Patient recruitment already accounts for 33% of most pivotal trials costs. 33% just on the recruitment aspect. I want to give a plug for my company, Patient Ace, which I'm a co-founder of with my friend Ronik, who is the brains behind Patient Ace. I'm hearing very good things from the sponsors that have started using it. If you're interested, reach out to me. The FDA guidance obviously increases sponsor pressure to hit these diversity metrics. I don't think that's going to change with the new FDA head. which I watched the hour-long episode with Megyn Kelly, and there was no talks about reversing course on the diversity guidances. I think getting diversity in clinical research is a different topic than DE and I, which the administration seems to have issues with as a whole. Diversity in studies is something that's more pragmatic. It's more of a public health concern. Uh, Sites in zip codes that are less diverse are going to struggle, I think, and you're going to need travel costs associated with outreach. DCT not doesn't seem to be working, decentralized clinical trials. So if you're a site located in Newport Beach, California, which has historically been predominantly Caucasian, I've had a site very close to Newport Beach in Costa Mesa. You don't actually get patients wanting to do studies there in Newport Beach. If you're lucky or if you're good enough at recruiting, you will make outreaches to the cities with more minorities nearby, like Santa Ana, California, like Anaheim, like San Juan Capistrano, San Clemente, and get patients to come in to your site that way, but it does increase costs, right? So the argument is, well, why not just open a site in those cities instead? And there is a market shift towards doing that. Again, smart money is going there. Uh, and even without the smart money, it's happening on its own with the physicians in those areas. Diversity is not a burden, it's a competitive advantage for those that can pull it off. And it's no longer this idealistic pie in the sky thing. It's real. And I don't see any signs. Again, I watched the entire hour episode with, I keep forgetting his name, Dr. Marty Makary, who, whether you have a problem with the administration or not, with him or not, there was nothing in that 1 hour video with Megyn Kelly that talked about de-emphasizing a premium on diversity in clinical research. Nothing of that, which I'll include in my write-up. So listen, this is going to favor sites in diverse areas. I think that's the theme of this. Sponsors want proven ability to reach underrepresented patients. So I think this is going to increase the rise of community engagement partners, companies like Latinos in Clinical Research, which I'm one of the co-founders, getting education out to potential physicians in those areas. I do think sponsors are still very risk averse when it comes to research naive physicians. So I do think you will need middleman, for lack of a better word, to do a lot of hand holding when it comes to onboarding new physicians, maybe having them piggyback on more experienced PIs. I think seeing more satellite sites, maybe site networks again, are going to benefit from this. But you're also going to see a lot of more private mom and pops opening up. Multilingual consent and staff absolutely mandatory. My colleague Judy Galindo is extremely passionate about this topic, and we're far from actually achieving even those bare minimum things like multilingual consent. You don't rarely do you get it on time. And then having the staff, of course, the impetus is not to hire minority staff for the sake of virtue signaling. It's for the sake of having a practical strategy for recruitment and retention in those communities. And this will favor the sites and the networks in diverse areas. Definitely over isolated or more suburban type sites, but isolated, like in a case like Yuma, is diverse as well. And there are those kind of places as well throughout the country. Where you are obviously matters. So if your site is in, and here's where we get into some hypothetical situations with geography, right? If your site is in a place like Yuma, Arizona, if your site is in anywhere, I'll extend that further. Anywhere in the South from SoCal, which is a competitive market, but it's so big. There's 20 million people in Southern California, to Arizona, to Nevada, to Utah, to New Mexico, to Colorado, to Texas. You're sitting on a gold mine. If you are in inner cities and you have non-academic medical center affiliated site, because I don't think any AMC directors are actually watching. Remember, the funding is drying up for the publicly funded research. Private funded industry sites, such as in inner cities, they do exist. They have their issues, just like they do in the rural, underserved areas. The inner city may not be rural, but it's underserved for sure. They have their own issues, but you're sitting on a gold mine. Inner city Chicago, downtown LA. I know some sites around there. Um, South Florida, even though I discuss, like, here's finally for all you South Florida people watching. Yes, you're in the most competitive spot in the United States for clinical research. But the fact that there are so many Hispanic and Spanish speaking only patients there, maybe more so than anywhere else in the country from a percentage standpoint. I think as long as you demonstrate that you're an ethical site and you focus on data integrity, you're sitting on a gold mine. Then it's just a matter of getting the word out about your site. You may need to actually join a site network, being that it's so competitive, but if you're independent, you can do it. It just becomes a branding game. And those that are in it for the right reasons, I think will succeed, and those that are not ultimately won't. And don't wait for the sponsors to ask you about your competitive advantage. Proactive. Be proactive and tell them on your website, here's our community profile. Here's our past performance with minority enrollment and actually put specifics. Don't put protocols, but put therapeutic areas and what you did, medical conditions and what you did. Here's our past performance with minority enrollment, and here's our strategy to support our diversity goals. And then create a diversity action plan. If you need help, go to ChatGPT, go to Grok, go to whatever AI you want to use and just tell it, I am a clinical research site owner. Throw in the link to this video. The AI will watch it and understand what you're talking about. Watch this video. I am one of the research sites Dan is referring to. Create a diversity action plan for me as a template, and then go in there and modify it according to your own data and your own statistics. And if you're not capturing that stuff, you need to start capturing it because the site networks are, let me tell you, the site networks are, and the theme of this 10 video series is the site networks are slowly taking over. So if you're a private independent site like myself, yours truly better get your act together. And this is one of the reasons why the impetus is on me and my site to scale up and to start acting, even though we're small, to start acting like we're bigger and to start scaling. And when you start doing that, you can become bigger if you want. Expand through embedded partnerships. Partner with minority serving practices, community clinics, community outreach. I did a video on patient recruitment and what kind of people you should be hiring at your site to lead your patient recruitment initiatives. I highly recommend everybody go watch it and use metrics like 48%. Be very specific. This percent identified in our previous trials for this indication identified as Hispanic or African American. And during your site selection visits, highlight your diversity competitive advantage. If you don't have any, start getting some. You can still do it if you don't have any. You just need to make community outreach initiatives, and that needs to be a huge part of your strategy going forward. So, what does this mean long term for you? Protocol feasibility will be filtered by geography and race. That's easily accessible by any sponsor, by me. You can access this data as well. Sponsors will score sites basically on their ability to recruit diverse patients, just like they score on PI experience or past performance. And this guidance, if anything, it might accelerate consolidation of sites in urban and diverse areas. I expect that to happen. Decline of rural or single specialty sites that can't diversify. So rural and not diverse. If you don't change with the times, you're going to get left behind. And then tech. If you're not using tech, if you're one of these sites that are still a Luddite and refusing to adapt to new technologies, it's okay, keep doing that, but you will get left behind. And you can use something like Patient Ace. We can help you do some targeting. You can use things like Creo, which also helps you track and get robust data on your site and metrics. And start now. Don't wait for the competition to slowly eat you up. Develop your own diversity playbook. Build the community partnerships. You should be doing this stuff anyways. Train staff on how to be culturally competent if you don't have diverse staff. And sponsors are looking for predictable diversity. And yes, just like real estate, it's a hyper local game. Your zip code might be a competitive advantage, just like mine was. That doesn't mean we're without our problems, and we definitely have things to work on. So if you're struggling to adapt, reach out to me, Save Our Sites, Patient Ace, Latinos in Clinical Research. We'll figure out a way to help you out. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Good luck out there. Bye bye.